Hello and welcome to another episode of the Classical Republican. Today we're talking about Giuseppe Mazzini's A Cosmopolitanism of Nations. There are three essays here that talk about cosmopolitanism. So the first one is Humanity and Country, written in 1836. And in this essay we have the dichotomy of country and humanity. And he says that you need both. The country is the starting point, and humanity is the ultimate purpose. So you have to have nations in order to have to better humanity's condition. And we see his development in this idea of the individual, association, nations, and humanity. So the individual is important. But the individual has to organize and work together in associations, and the nation is kind of the ultimate association, which is supposed to be working towards a better humanity. Again, we'll see more of that in Duties of Man. He says that you need unity to accomplish this, and history is progressing toward the unity of all humanity. The next essay is Nationality and Cosmopolitanism, written in 1847. So 1847, right before the 1848 revolutions. He says that there is nationality and cosmopolitanism, but there are bad kinds of both. So you have the nationality where you used to focus on the king. You still have slogans that come down in nationalist circles. Today we think of throne and altar, and so the throne and altar is the bad form, because you're just focusing on a ruler and that ruler's arbitrary will over the people, over the nation. So that's not a good thing. As a classical Republican, we oppose arbitrariness. But then he says that cosmopolitanism was kind of a reaction to the bad kind of nationalism, and but then you have a bad kind of cosmopolitanism where there's just simply a focus on interest and on let's see, there's a good quote here. He says, Ubi bene, ibi patria. Where my interest is, there is my country. And he drags his country along with him, attached to the soles of his shoes. So I think we see that today in, you think of global corporations, and people talk bad about global corporations not being grounded and not being, having no loyalty to any nation or community. It's all just about their interests and earning money. Let's see, on page 61 here, it says, today most men no longer believe in the selfish nationalism of the absolute powers. Again, he's writing this in 1847. He hasn't seen the really bad things that can be done with nationalism. And he goes on to say, the guiding, another task now lies ahead of us, that of promoting the association of different countries, an alliance of nations that will make it possible for them to accomplish their mission on earth in peace and love. He goes on to say, the guiding principle underpinning all domestic and international law will no longer be the weakening of everything that does not promote one's narrow self-interest, but rather the improvement of all through everyone's contribution, the progress of each for the benefit of all. So this is the 19th century. Progress is, a buzzword at the time. So we need to support nations and international organizations. You need those. To achieve a better world for all. Now, the last essay is Nationalism and Nationality, written in 1871. And I'll just read a little bit from that. There's a footnote here that says Mazzini was not the first person to talk about the United States of Europe. but he talks about it here. He says, yes, our final goal is the establishment of a United States of Europe, a republican alliance among the peoples. So that's really interesting. So he wants nations, but they need to commit to the greater good, and you want to have nations and organizations that contribute to humanity, but they have to be republican in nature. So that's very interesting. So what is a nation? He gives a good little summary here of what it's like to live in a nation. And you can also, there's a chapter on this in the on the duties of man. So let me read this. The individual. Okay, what forces and what elements can put forth that might benefit the organization of humanity as a whole? The individual's means and his 30 or 40 years of adult life are but a tiny drop in the vast ocean of existence. As soon as he becomes aware of this, he ends up discouraged and abandons the entire undertaking. If he is a good man, he will now and again engage in simple charity. If he is evil, he will isolate himself in complete selfishness. Okay, so that's individuals thinking about the concept of humanity and how they can promote and improve humanity. It seems impossible. But he goes on to say, but give this man a country, patria, and establish a link of solidarity between his individual efforts and the efforts of all subsequent generations. Place him in association with the labors of 25 to 30 million men who speak the same language, have similar habits and beliefs, profess faith in the same goal, and have developed specific tools for their work as required by the general conditions of their land, and the problem will change for him at once. His strengths will be greatly multiplied, allowing him to feel up to the task. The national tradition and his own intellect, revitalized by a communal bond with the intellects of millions, reveal to him a special goal placed along the way towards the general goal. This special goal is not out of reach if he combines his own strength with the strength of all his countrymen. He can be confident that the tiny grain of sand which he adds to the great pyramid that we have committed to erect from the earth to the sky is placed on millions of similar grains and will be followed by millions more. If well organized, a nation is like a factory dedicated to a specific branch of production toward general moral, intellectual, and economic development. Each single nation's contribution is therefore necessary to a proper functioning of the whole. All right, that's all I have. So, nations and international organizations, he seems to say that we need both of those, and to achieve our individual potential, and to improve humanity as a whole. So he talks about nations. And he's not really, there's many different types of definitions of nations, and he's really talking about sort of just having this spirit of patriotism for your nation, and having pride in what they contribute to all of humanity. So it's not like a selfish. He even talks about how the nation should not be selfish. In one of these essays, he says that it cannot be isolated. It has to contribute to the good of humanity. So until next time, long live the Republic.